Well, it's not the best quarterback class ever. Hell, it might be the worst one in the last decade. But Brendan Albert and I are here to talk about it anyway. So let's bring the man, the myth, the legend onto the show. How's it going?
Quarterback class ever. Hell, it might be the worst one in the last decade. Brendan Albert and I are here to talk about it.
We got some echoes again, but yeah.
There we go. All right.
Well, we good now? We finally good now?
We're all good.
Good? All right. No echoes. Jeez.
Awesome. Hey, Adrian, I appreciate you having me here on the Bitter Birds. For those guys who are, kind of listening or hearing me for the first time, me and Adrian go way back. Me and Adrian were actually fraternity brothers back when we were at Temple together. So really excited. I'm happy for all the success he's having, but I'm thrilled about this opportunity to talk about some QBs and running backs today.
Oh, hell yeah, man. And there's a reason why I brought you on the show, brother. There is nobody out there that knows the scouting process quite like Brendan Albert. There's nobody that delves into the prospects quite like Brendan Albert. So, man, I'm really, really excited to do all of these top fives. We're about to pump these out the next 2 weeks. Top 5 quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, you name it. Everything. We're getting into everything. And
I'm real excited about it, guys. And let me kind of refresh you all, or just at least give you guys my background a little bit. So, after me and Adrian had all our great times at, 1432 West Diamond Street, North Philadelphia.
Never drank alcohol, ever.
No. Saints.
None. We drank Old Duels. Old Duels on Friday night, baby.
That's right. After we had all of our time there, I worked at a place called IMG Academy. I served as an assistant coach, helping with IMG with their NFL Combine prep for the 2013 class. Worked with about 60 guys who are either in the NFL or maybe just leaving the NFL, all different positions, quarterback through the defensive line, kickers, you name it on the field. Great opportunity. I've been coaching high school ball for about 8 years, and now I'm working as a collegiate football scout for a third-party company called NCSA, based out of Chicago, but I live out here in our West Coast office, now soon to be home of the Las Vegas Raiders. So that's my background, guys. Thrilled to be with y'all.
Hell yeah. So before we get into our individual rankings, I wanted to talk about this class itself. And, it's an underwhelming class. So, I mean, I don't even think any of these guys are like first-round talents. But it reminds me a little bit of that draft from a couple years ago. We had Carr. We had Bortles. And we thought this draft was going to be really bad. And it turns out Carr obviously is a stud. Bortles had a really solid season. What was it, last year or 2 years ago? Kind of fell off a little bit since, but he showed some glimpses. So that class wasn't as bad as it kind of was made out to be. We'll see what happens with this one. What are your thoughts? Is there a guy that can really emerge out of this class and just lead it?
Yeah, well, let me kind of sum this up to you. Okay, the most NFL-ready quarterback that we have coming out of this draft has played 13 college games in one season. So exactly. So this should be kind of a big this is not a great play right now NFL draft we have for the QBs, because again, if the best guy we have to walk in and take snaps, from a center, preseason game 1 is a guy who only played 1 year of college ball, that's pretty telling. So really what we're looking at. The other thing is, and this is something, if you guys listen to whoever your favorite analyst, whether it's Mayock or Matt Miller or whoever else, guys, no one has said you have to draft this guy. Every year, there has at least been one quarterback that we've said you have to draft this guy. This year, there's no one. So, Adrian, when I'm looking at my top 5 quarterbacks, to me, there's a close between 1 and 2, close between 3 and 4, and then I kind of say a dealer's choice at 5. So my top quarterback is Mitchell Trubisky. My rationale for him is he is the closest to pro-ready right now. Footwork is very good. In my opinion, he's probably the most accurate quarterback, which in the NFL is the most important thing. I really could care less about your arm power. Accuracy is huge. Mitchell's is very good. He does a good job of his footwork. Problem for him, though, is in his offense, he ran a lot of RPO or run-pass option, so he didn't necessarily need to make a lot of reads. So Mitch Trubisky, he's my one. Adrian, who do you have at the top of yours?
Yeah, I actually got Deshaun Watson, but it's very close with him and Trubisky. You know what really does it for me? It's those two Alabama games, the national championship games. Those two performances. I mean, the biggest games of them all, and he performed admirably. He put that team on his back this past year. So I think Watson's very adept at making throws in the run, capable of making NFL throws, very quick, athletic. Obviously, I think he gets the ball out pretty quickly. Nice feel for pass rushers. But my thing with him is he played in a very, very simple spread offense. And he had to make like half field reads. He didn't have to make reads. All he had to do was look at half the field, and that was it. And he's a guy that, forces throws from time to time, makes some poor reads. But so yeah, there's going to be flaws to every single one of these guys. Watson is my number one, but Trubisky, to me, if there's a guy that has a ceiling, it's Trubisky. He's like the most ready, but he's also like the most has the most upside. Does that make sense? The thing about Trubisky, you can't be fooled by the Sun Bowl. Because a lot of people they'll do their scouting during the bowl season, at least the fan scouts, and they see that performance, they're like, oh man, what's so great about Trubisky? He threw like 2 interceptions in that game, basically hadn't thrown any picks all season, but in that game, yeah, he looked very, very average. But when you look at some of his other games, I mean, you really do see that pocket presence and the accuracy on his ball, and I do like him a little bit. There's some Carson Wentz in his game. I don't think he's as intelligent, but there's some Wentz in there.
Yeah, I think that's a fair kind of, synopsis of Mitchell. The thing when we look at Mitchell, everyone says, the Sun Bowl game's pretty bad. And you know what? Quarterbacks have bad games. I mean, that's going to happen, okay? The bigger problem is when 1/13 of your college career is a bad game, it's a bigger issue for you because you don't have the body of work to back it up. So when I'm looking at Trubisky, the pro I'm seeing is I'm seeing an Andy Dalton, hey, if we can kind of be a game manager and don't push the ball down the field if we don't have to, be accurate. The thing that we look about, and we call this predators and dogs, these are going to be, type of stunts and blitzes that he had a big problem with Stanford. When Stanford started running these predator and dog blitzes, which is when essentially if you think about a linebacker and a defensive lineman changing rush responsibilities and dropping responsibilities, looked like it confused them. So that's a big thing for Trubisky. Now, I have Watson as my 2. Now, Watson, he's probably the best guy in the pocket. He does a good job moving laterally. And as far as games, I mean, he just smoked Alabama twice. No big deal, So when we're looking at film, he's got it. The problem I have with him is, you said it spot on, Adrian, he makes half-field reads because he was asked to. I can't knock him for it, because that's what the coach is asking you. But at the same time, I can't praise you for it either. He also had 32 interceptions in college. That's a big issue for me. His accuracy, he runs hot and cold with that. He's got a good arm. He's a great athlete, as we know. Problem with him, though, is he's an overstrider. Sometimes he lets that front foot get a little too long, starts to create a longer release, which in turn gives a corner about 0.3 to 0.4 seconds to drive on a ball and intercept it. So that's a concern for me. So that's why I have him as my 2 quarterback. I assume Mitchell's your 2, Adrian?
Yeah. Trubisky's my number 2. And we'll get to number 3 now. It's funny because we talked before the show, and I had DeShone Kizer at number 4 because I'm not high on him at all. And then it turns out you got him at number 4 as well. So number 3. We both have the same guy. Since you're the expert, I'll let you talk about it.
Yeah, so here's the thing. Once we get past 1 and 2, 1 and 2 are pretty close. I think a lot of NFL GMs and coaches can debate who's 1 and who's 2. I think the same thing is who's 3 and who's 4. I think I put Pat Mahomes here. And honestly, even before the show, even when me and Adrian were talking pre-show, I said, now maybe I have Kizer. Now maybe I have Mahomes. Now, Mahomes, his dad was a 12-year NFL vet pitcher. So we talk about a live arm, dude's got it. When you draw up an arm, Mahomes got it. He makes a couple of throws, and he makes the throws that coaches say, No, 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 no. Hey, great throw. Hey, awesome throw, man. Because he lets these puppies rip. And the problem for him is he's big play. A lot of times you'll hear coaches say, hey, we're touchdown to check down. He's touchdown to interception kind of minded.
Yeah, he's Jay Cutler.
Exactly. He is Jay Cutler. So if you're looking for someone who's going to turn it loose and rip it, this is Mahomes. I think Mahomes is in between Jay Cutler and Ryan Mallett. So he's a guy that you are going to need to coach. His lower body mechanics, his ability to take a drop and stay in the pocket is very, very poor because he was never asked to do it. Teams like Kansas City make a lot of sense because you're able to sit him for a year to two. Arizona, maybe in the early second round, sit him for 1 to 2 years. Those are teams that I think would make sense for Mahomes. What do you like about him, Adrian?
Oh, it's just that arm talent. I mean, the arm talent speaks for itself. But that arm talent also gets him into trouble because he thinks he could just throw it anywhere. He can thread it anywhere because he's got enough arm. And sometimes, obviously, at least to some bad decisions. There's other times where, he doesn't set his feet in the pocket because, again, he thinks he can get it there with his arm. So that's the thing with him. So it's like his arm is his biggest strength, but it's also his biggest weakness as well. It's a double-edged sword.
No doubt. And, I mean, that has always been the problem with guys like Cutler, Rivers even, Stafford even. I mean, all those guys, they have these live arms. And, honestly, for me as a high school coach, I almost hate it when my high school athletes watch those guys because they're seeing these 3/4 arm releases, and I'm explaining to them, these guys have God's gift attached to their right shoulder, not a normal arm. So, that's the problem with him. Now, when I get to my 4, I have Kaiser, our guy from Notre Dame. Kaiser is, I think he might have the highest ceiling of the group because he does everything very good, but he doesn't do anything great. So because of that, I think Kaiser could really, if he gets in the right spot, could really boom. But he's not NFL ready. And the reasoning I say that is kind of like Mahomes. Kaiser, he walks the line on the field of cocky and arrogant. And there's nothing wrong with that. But if you watch a lot of his interceptions, pre-snap, he's staring down a player, and he's saying, I'm just going to smoke this fastball right through him. And sometimes he does, and sometimes he doesn't, which is a big, big concern for me. The other thing is he doesn't reset his feet. So if you watch him, he'll get in his 5-step drop, and he'll be looking at the post. Post isn't there. Now he's got to reset his feet and throw the flat. He won't reset his feet. He'll just let the puppy rip and smoke it.
Kind of like Mahomes. There's a lot of similarities between Kaiser and Mahomes.
Similarities. I think Kaiser's a little more accurate, but I think Mahomes, his arm talent, gets him that little notch of bump. I don't love either one of these guys. I think both of these guys are clear mid-second round talent. But with quarterbacks, man, they're going to go in the first. What do you like about him, Adrian?
Oh, you said, he's a very strong arm. He's an athlete. He's got a pretty quick delivery. I kind of like his release. But for me, it's like, I don't know. I watch him out there, and I just don't see it. I think he forces throws. He makes poor decisions. You've said it. I'm not a big Kaiser guy. He looks the part. He looks like a quarterback. He's got the prototypical size. If there's a guy in this class that looks the part, it's him. But when I see the play on the field, I just don't see what everyone else sees. So,
fair enough. Adrian, I'll let you kind of wrap us up. Who's the 5-man sitting for you at the quarterback position?
Yeah, I got Josh Dobbs. He really caught my eye at the combine. Really, really impressed me. He was a guy I wasn't like crazy about as the season went along. But just hearing some of the background, just how smart this kid is. I'm really high on intelligence when it comes to quarterbacks. You got to be able, you got to be smart as a quarterback. So he's my number 5. He's athletic. He's got something there. I mean, I don't know if he's going to amount to anything because it's not a good class, but he's my number 5.
Hey, fair enough. I mean, Josh Dobbs, his education, his degree, I think it was like aerospace and genetics.
Oh, yeah. It's just ridiculous.
I'll put it this way. I can barely say his degree, okay? But he's a 4.0 in this degree, okay? So he is a whole nother level of intellectual human being. I completely hear you. I got a couple guys I know who are the ones who are working out with him. They're raving about him. They're telling me, yes, absolutely draft him. I'm not going to say him. He would have been my 5, maybe even my 4. I'm not going to say him because I want to kind of keep a little more options on the table for us here. When we get to 5, this is kind of my dealer's choice. And what I mean by that is it's just going to be kind of what's your flavor. We're hearing about Nate Peterman from Pitt. He's starting to become the name to really get mentioned. And You're seeing teams like, oh, maybe Kansas City, maybe Houston. And those teams make a ton of sense because they're going to be run-first teams. Let's win a game 17-10 with a good defense. They make a ton of sense for him. The other one is Davis Webb. And this guy is a walking question mark with 2 ears and 2 eyes. He is huge. He's 6'5", which is very, very big. He kind of reminds me a lot of Osweiler in that he's so big, strong arm, but like Osweiler, super long delivery. This is why we see a lot of his balls get picked off if it's not a very clear single high situation where he can let it rip. It's just going to come down to what's your decision. It's going to be, in my opinion, between Davis, Dobbs, and Peterman. So that's what I have for the quarterbacks. Adrian, I know we want to talk about the bell cows, or what used to be the bell cows, and now we get to our guys who share the load. Let's talk about running backs here, Adrian.
Well, actually, running backs, we're going to create a separate show for that. So that's what we're going to do. So we'll end this one, fairly quickly. I do want to get through some sleepers just really quickly.
Okay.
You got some. I mean, are there really sleepers? But I'll throw a name out there. Just I think you know who I'm about to say. Trevor Knight, former Oklahoma guy. It's the Alabama game. The Alabama game is still in my head. I'm like, oh my god, like that guy's got something. There's something there. He's more athletic than he appears. He ran a pretty good 40. I don't remember what it was, but Trevor Knight. I like me some Trevor Knight. He had transferred to Texas A&M. He's the guy. He would be the guy that sleeper. And Brad Kaya is another one.
Brad Kaya, from Miami, he's a good one. I think Brad Kaya, he's ultimately going to be a guy like a Chase Daniels and was it Andrew Murray? I think it is. Aaron Murray, who former Georgia quarterback, who's career backup guys. Yeah, I think Brad Kaya, he's probably one of those guys who will be in the league for a long time. Probably never going to be a starter, and that's fine. He'll be a rotation guy. The guy I'm going to put, though, as my sleeper, and when I think about sleepers, with this quarterback class, we know they're not good. So your sleeper, I'm thinking this is someone I'm going to put on the shelf for anywhere from 2 to 3, maybe even 4 years, and just see what happens. I'm going to throw Chad Kelly in there because his biggest problems is off the field. We talk about a guy, who can do it. Beat Bama, huge arm, wildly inconsistent as a player, has a whole bunch of off-the-field issues, but the talent's there. So if I'm looking for a guy, I'm looking maybe the, 5th, 6th, 7th round, and I'm saying, hey, let's just draft one and see what happens. Teams like the Ravens, heck, if you're the Packers, even if you're the Colts, hey, let's just draft them and put them on the practice squad and see if something happens, then we can use them as trade value down the line. I think Chad Kelly's that guy for my sleeper.
Okay. The way you were breaking that down, like wait 3 to 4 years, I thought you were about to say Gerard Evans. Because if there's one quarterback that does not belong here right now, who should have stayed in school, it's him.
Yeah. I mean, boy, Gerard Evans is one of those dudes, man. You just kind of want to go back and be like, who was advising you? Because this wasn't good. Especially because you had a quarterback who did this, who went to Virginia Tech. His name was Logan Thomas. He did the same thing. You probably should have stuck it out a little longer. I don't love his throwing mechanics. I think his motion. I'm not a big fan of him. I think he's a pretty rough future.
Yeah, he might be the worst one in the class, to be honest with you.
Possible.
Him and C.J. Beathard. I'm like, how the hell is C.J. Beathard going to make the league? No way. Really?
Yeah. I'm just hoping that my guy, Alex Torgazin, quarterback from Penn, just draft him, baby. Just get his name on a draft card. Let the man be happy, and then he'll go to Wall Street and make more money than anyone else in this draft.
There it is. All right, so we're going to end it on that note. We'll be right back. We'll be back in 2 to 3 minutes. We're going to do our top 5 running backs. And tomorrow we're going to do top 5 wide receivers and top 5 tight ends. So stay tuned for tomorrow as well. Then we'll do more rankings next week when Brennan is available again. So, all right, that's it for this one. That's Brennan Albert. I'm Adrian Fedke. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. That dude's legit. Stay tuned.
Let's do it.